Do you understand how much time you're going to save with this? Let's not waste any of your time. Let's jump right into it. The program I'm talking about today is called AutoPod. And if you're an editor, this is going to completely change how you edit your podcasts. Let me give you a quick overview of what this can do. So if you don't know editing a podcast, you have something called multi-cameras. Just like you see this setup right here. Usually when you're shooting a podcast, you have 2 subjects or maybe more, and then you have multiple cameras, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you're in the editing process, the editor has to take all those separate camera angles and then switch through them and cut back and forth to each person who's talking, which takes hours of time sometimes, depending on how long the podcast is. So it can be really intensive if you have to spend all that time. So instead, there's now a program called AutoPod. Let's go through it. So it automatically edits your video for podcasts and shows. It has the multi-camera editor, which we're talking about. It also can do social clips. So after you've been done editing the main thing, it can cut it down to like TikTok or Instagram format, which is great. And then it also can do jump cuts, which jump cuts means you're just cutting out all the silent footage in between all the shots, which is also a big time saver because obviously when doing podcasts, sometimes maybe someone goes to the bathroom or gets a drink of water, or there's just dead space to try and figure something out. And now you can just cut it all out, which is crazy. I did a little mock podcast with my girlfriend, and I just wanted to show you quickly what it can do. I do get podcasts from other clients, and this will speed up my workflow a lot, but I just wanted to have an example for the YouTube video here. Install first AutoPod. I've linked it down in the description below. You can get a 30-day free trial. It will give you a Windows installer, and you just double-click and install on your computer, and it will instantly be installed on Premiere Pro. You just have to restart Premiere and make sure Premiere is not open when you're installing it. A couple important things to know about AutoPod after messing around with it. First off, all of your clips have to be the same length of time. As you can see here, I have it starting at the very beginning. If it's not starting at the beginning of the playhead and there's like space at the beginning here, AutoPod won't accept it and it won't work. And it'll give you an error. Also, at the end here, if there is spacing to the end of it, as you can see here, see how it's not lined up? AutoPod also won't take that as well, and you'd have to fix that. So what you can do is just this is just dead space at the end, bring this back to the end and even it all out. Another thing is, say if you have multiple clips, because sometimes the files get split up if it's a big file, you have to have everything nested together in one clip. So see how this top one is all together? This is her speaking, this is all together, but my clip all together is not all together. So you would have to nest this whole sequence to make sure the program would work. So I'd select the video and the audio, right click, and then go up and hit nest, and hit OK. Here's another example in another timeline. If you have lots of video, but you only want sections of it done right now, the program gets confused because it all has to be in that same format of nested and everything. So you can't just have it do part of the timeline, it has to do the whole time, if that makes sense. So you want to use this program right at the beginning when you're getting your base edit of the whole thing done, of all the camera switches, and then you can go in and fill all your captions and so forth on top of it, and images, whatever you want to add on top of the podcast. So once it's installed, like I said, you go up to Window at the top, you go to Extensions, and then all the AutoPod extensions should be right there. And like I said, those are the 3 right here: jump cut, multi-camera, and social clip editor. So let's do the multi-camera editor. What multi-camera will do is do that whole edit of switching between multiple cameras, and using AI, it will automatically detect who's speaking and switch the camera to them. So multi-camera editor, you have to put some of your information in there and then hit login. I've already done mine, so it goes through the next step. So let's work our way through this panel. First of all, you can have presets. I don't have any right now. Next, you have cutting method, and I just do standard, or you can just disable it, but obviously I want it to work. Shot frequency is how often you want the camera to cut, the AI to like detect how fast you want the camera to switch back and forth. I do like medium. I've tried both. If you kind of want a high intensity podcast where a lot of people are speaking, high could be good. I think low is a little too slow, but it obviously depends for the style of podcast you're shooting. And then we have the number of speakers. It's just 2 of us right now, so I just select 2, and then I have 2 cameras. You could add a third if you had a wide shot, something like that. I do not have a wide shot. I just have 2 cameras pointing on my subjects, so that's all I'm gonna use. And then you can put the name of the speaker so you don't get confused. So you have me on number 1, Jack, and then I have my girlfriend Julia on the second one. I'm on V1. and then she's on V2. So this is all of you can set it up. And now if you're doing a very consistent podcast, you can now save this as a new preset and save it as whatever you want. And now I have that preset forever, so I could always use it. So if you're doing a weekly podcast, this is a huge time saver. All right, and then all you have to do is click create multicam edit, and it's off to the races. Oh my gosh, look how fast that is. And that took about 5 seconds. A 5-minute podcast actually just took 10 seconds. And now you can look here, it just did all the cuts back and forth for the whole thing. Let's take a look at what it says. This podcast was written completely by ChatGPT, so it's gonna be an absolute banger. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Jack, have you heard of this new AI version called AutoPod?
This is crazy, honestly.
I know, I'm nervous.
Yeah, I've been using it for a while now. It's a game changer.
Really?
But you can see how it goes back and forth automatically here. We're just tisking back and forth. Like, look how fast these cuts are. It's doing a great job, honestly, finding when someone's laughing or just doing their follow-up response. It does a really solid job.
You're really a pro at editing, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a huge time saver. But that's basically it. So now I have my whole podcast ready to go. And now I can start adding captions or whatever I wanted on top of it. But the base of it is done. Right here is just me talking the whole time, and she didn't add anything in, so we didn't switch cameras. But anytime we're having any discussion, it's perfectly edited together. I'll give you a little more of an example.
Joy and I. That's us.
That's us.
ChatGPT gave us the good stuff.
Yes, I did.
Actually, we said
Wow.
we're at lunch at a nearby cafe. Talking about editing.
Are we?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
All right.
So I hope this helps you have a good example of what it looks like. The only downside I could see it struggle with is if someone does like a side eye or makes like a facial reaction to like a comment or something on the podcast. Obviously, you'd have to manually go in there and switch over to look at them if you want to change the camera angle, because it's recognizing off voice and how you're speaking to cut back and forth. So if there is any like side eyes or little moments that you need to go edit in there of people reacting, I mean, you just go back into the main footage over here and just edit it in. But overall, this is a huge time saver. Again, go check it out in the description below. There's really not that much more on the site itself. They only have one plan right now for $29 a month, where you get everything included with the social editor and the jump cut editor. The multicam editor alone is worth it, so definitely go check it out. To give a quick example of what else they can do, we also have the social clip editor. After it's done all its work editing it down, you have to nest it all into one single file now, so it has as one video. And now we're going to go up to Window, Extensions, AutoPod Social Clip Editor. You put your information in here. So let's select 1080 by 1920. We'll make it auto reframe, meaning it's going to try to put the face in the middle of the frame and you put the most important thing there. And you also could add a watermark, which you would add externally if you wanted to, and an end page if you want to add obviously a little closing part on every single clip, say with your logo or with an outro or something. And you take create clips. And now you can see it's working here at the bottom here, auto reframing it all. And if you just choose an in and out point, it actually can just do that as well if you want to not do the whole sequence and you just want to do part of it. But super handy, of course, when you try to make your podcast into social clips so you can post it on all the different social medias. So now let's see what it made.
Fantastic. So you can see what it's like for AutoPod to switch back and forth, right?
Right. Amen.
Let's
Go.
It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
The video you saw before this is a live example of this getting edited together.
Okay. So how long does it take?
It depends. You're really a pro at editing, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not only did it just edit my whole podcast and switch cameras automatically, but now it went a whole nother step further and now edited it all down for social media. So now as an editor, I'm fully ready to start editing my social version and start editing my long form version. You could feed this also pre-made podcasts you already done, but obviously if you had stuff at the bottom like text or other like pictures and stuff popping in, they might be not framed correctly. That's my only issue with it. But obviously that video would already be done and formatted for long form, horizontal, so that wouldn't really be the AI's problem. So what I think is a great thing to do now is have one sequence where I have it for horizontal all ready to go, and then I can copy all my effects into this sequence and have it and reframe it all for social media. But all the main cutting and the boring cutting is done now. Now I just go straight into editing the good stuff. So highly recommend it. Definitely go check it out. $30 a month at one set price. Let me know if you have any questions down below and what you think about it. And I'll see you in the next one.